Hey guys, how you doing today? It's Barb with Halfway to Sane, um, doing a story today on the attempted Trump assassination. Wasn't sure if I was going to do it or not. I was kind of hemming and hawing about it, but decided to do it. So stick around for a little bit. It's a little bit longer than what I usually do. I don't usually do too long of a story, but there's quite a bit out there. So let's get to it, right? Okay. So it all starts off with a report of a suspicious person that received the report was received an hour before the gunman opened fire on the former President Donald Trump. The Department of Homeland Security said its inspector general would investigate the Secret Service security operation at the rally on Saturday, July 13th. The Secret Service Director, Kimberly Cheadle, said that the buck stops with her, and that the assassination attempt should have never happened. And Corey Comparator, 50 years old, a former chief of the Buffalo Township Volunteer Fire Company, he was killed in the shooting, along with two other people, David Dutch, 57 years old, and James Copenhaver, 74 years old, were injured. The shooter has been identified as Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20 years old, from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, and he was a member of a local gun club and worked as a dietary aide at a nursing facility. A member of the church that Corey Comparator regularly attended said she and her husband were attending the service at Cabot Church in Cabot, Pennsylvania, when the shooting happened. She said, "Our sermon was all about God in darkness and how God is still there in tragic situations. And instead of saying, 'Why, God? Why would you do this?' It was all about trusting that God knows the bigger picture." 28-year-old Sierra DeWalt said she and her husband wondered as they were driving home if they knew who the shooter was. We never thought in a million years that we would know the people that were killed or victimized. She also said the hardest part has been seeing conspiracy theories posted online. It's one of the things where, like, oh, that never happens. And then there's, of course, people doubting the realness of it, which I get. There's a lot of questions that need answered, but the trauma and the realness of what the family is going through is not fake. And I think that's the most frustrating part. It's people saying how it was staged and he's not actually dead, and all of this whenever you're watching your community suffer and go through this together. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put that part in there, but I guess it's kind of relevant to the fact that they happen to be in church that day, and those things do cross your mind when you hear of something. Boy, I wonder if I know who that is. And Sarsley, I guess I'm making up new words, but anyhow, they knew who he was, which is a shame. Senator John Cornyn posted on social media that Cheadle needs to resign after the security failures at the Trump rally. He also said Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee are asking Chair Dick Durbin to hold a hearing on the matter so that they can finally get some answers for the American people about how this happened. The head of communications for the Secret Service has said that Crooks never identified as a threat. He was reported as a suspicious person an hour before the shooting. A suspicious person means there was no threat. We were notified of a suspicious person possibly carrying a backpack and a golf range finder. There's a big difference between a threat and a suspicious person. In the days after a gunman nearly killed Trump, scrutiny of the Secret Service has focused on the failure to secure the rooftop where the shooter took a sniper position. But what happened after a bullet nicked Trump's ear was also galling, according to the former Secret Service agents and experts in protecting prominent figures. While Trump's detail performed well in quickly converging on him when the bullets began flying, they say the agents' actions in the immediate aftermath were contrary to the most basic protocols and they put Trump's life at risk. A new video clip shared on a social media shows the confusion and disbelief among the crowd at the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. A Trump supporter was seated to the right of the stage, filming the former president's speech as he spoke about immigration statistics. Then, a supporter wearing a pair of stars and stripes sunglasses and a bandana pans the camera towards himself before he can rotate his phone back towards Trump. 3 sharp snaps are heard. 3 sharp snaps. Say that 3 times. 3 sharp snaps. You hear people shouting, "Get down, get down, somebody's got shot." The crowd applauds wildly as Trump gets back to his feet, led by Secret Service agents, and chants of USA erupt. Rallygoers then begin to clear a path for an injured person to be taken away for treatment. Hold on, guys. So after conducting more than 100 interviews, searching the suspect's home and vehicle, cracking into his cell phone, FBI investigators were still searching on Tuesday, July 16th, for a motive to the attempted assassination. As fallout continued on the security failure that led to the attempt on former President Trump, the Pennsylvania State Police said they are not responsible for securing the area where the gunman opened fire from a rooftop about 400 feet from the rally stage, hitting Trump's right ear, killing a bystander and wounding 2. The state police said in a statement that it provided all resources to the Secret Service, including 30 to 40 troopers, to assist with securing the inside perimeter of the campaign, but was not responsible for securing the building or property outside the security perimeter where there would be an assassin open fire. The U.S. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle confirmed that local police were present inside the building at the same time the shooter was on the roof firing at Trump. So that's interesting. That I wonder how many police were in there and why were they in there and not out patrolling the area, making sure everything stayed safe. So Kimberly Cheadle also said the local authorities were tasked with securing the building. In this particular instance, we did share support for that particular site, that the Secret Service was responsible for the inner perimeter. And then we sought assistance. Okie dokie. So we sought assistance from our local counterparts for the outer perimeter. As the investigation continued, officials with the FBI, the agency spearheading the probe, and the Department of Homeland Security warned late Monday about the potential for follow-on or reiteratory acts. FBI officials also said a search of the suspect's vehicle and his home in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. According to an FBI and Department of Homeland Security bulletin, 2 improvised explosive devices were found in Crook's car and one at home. So that's scary to know that. Wondering if that one hadn't been found at the home, if somehow or another that it would have gone off at one point or another. And what was his purpose for having them? So here, this doesn't make sense to me. So he took the rifle there to shoot the previous president. What was he going to do with the bombs? Did he really think he was going to have time after shooting somebody, that he was going to have time to reach for some bombs to like set them off, throw them, whatever the heck he was going to do with them? Hmm. Over the last several months, Crooks received several packages, including one marked as possibly containing hazardous material. And the bulletin revealed that on the day of the shooting, Crooks purchased 50 rounds of ammunition prior to going to the rally. It was learned that on the day of the shooting, Crooks told his father he wanted to go to a shooting range and asked if he could borrow his dad's AR-15 style rifle. Pay attention to this part. It specifically says he asked his father if he minded if he could borrow the gun. Since the father had occasionally allowed Crooks to go target shooting with the semi-automatic firearm, he didn't think anything was suspicious when he let him use the rifle again. Investigators said Crooks used the rifle in the attempted assassination and that Crooks recently purchased ammunition online. The father of the gunman who tried to assassinate Donald Trump called police before the shooting. The call is one of a number of red flags revealed in recent days that law enforcement was notified before gunshots rang out. Law enforcement, specifically the U.S. Secret Service, has faced mounting questions about security with calls by some lawmakers that the head of the agency should resign. Law enforcement sources have told media that the gunman had conducted online searches into a major depressive disorder and the Democratic National Convention scheduled for August. What does one have to do with the other? He had also saved images of Trump, President Joe Biden, Attorney General Merrick Garland, FBI Director Chris Wray, and a member of the British royal family. Investigators are still trying to trace a potential motive for the 20-year-old gunman who was shot dead by Secret Service snipers after opening fire. The preliminary investigation has found that Crooks climbed onto the roof of a nearby building outside the rally by climbing onto an air conditioning unit, and the units were located next to the building. A counter sniper flagged a suspicious man using a rangefinder to the U.S. Secret Service some 20 minutes before the attack started. So, you knew 20 minutes before this happened that something wasn't right, but you didn't do anything. More than one person knew. Local police initially spotted the gunman, who was acting strangely and had a backpack, about an hour before the shooting. They lost him in the crowd, but he was spotted again by the sniper. Officers were alerted by radio about a suspicious person and searched the area where Crooks had perched his rifle on a rooftop. Finding no one, one officer decided to check the roof. The officer was hoisted onto the roof. A colleague came face to face with the suspect. The suspect pointed a rifle at him, and the officer, who was in a defenseless position, let go from the roof and fell to the ground. He then alerted others to the gunman. Moments later, the shooting happened. No weapon was spotted by law enforcement when Crooks was seen in the crowd, and officials are trying to determine how no one saw his AR-style rifle. Investigators are examining various theories, including that he had stashed it earlier the day before near the conditioning unit outside that building, or somehow did he smuggle it inside his backpack? Well, that would have had to be an awfully big backpack, I would think. Retracing his footsteps in the hours before the attack will be the key to understanding how the shooting unfolded. The semi-automatic rifle he used had been legally purchased by Crooks' father in 2013. When the gunman was found, he was carrying a remote detonator and his car contained explosive, which we went over just a little bit ago. It continues to remain unclear what motivated the attack and whether any political ideology is to blame. On the day of the shooting, Crooks requested the day off from work. He claimed he had something to do, and he reportedly told his co-workers he would be back the next day. I wonder if he actually thought he'd be back the next day. So this also raises questions about whether his parents could face any legal consequences, since prosecutors are increasingly using novel legal theories to hold gun owners responsible for their children's actions. Yes, he was an adult, but he was still their children. He was living in their house, and he did take the gun that didn't necessarily belong to him. Experts say there is still too little known about what Crook's parents knew and did in the days and hours leading up to the shooting to make an assessment. Crook's home life and relationship with his parents are also of particular interest. Sorry, guys. Particular interest to investigators as they try to understand his thinking. According to two people familiar with the situation, who, like others, spoke on it anonymously to discuss an ongoing investigation. Both of his parents have health issues, and while Crooks lived with them, so far it does not appear to investigators that they were keeping close tabs on his activities or interests in the days and months leading up to the shooting. Crooks, who graduated in May with an associate's degree in engineering science from the Community College of Allegheny in Western Pennsylvania, had planned to enroll at Robert Morris University in Pittsburgh this fall. He was a registered Republican, and he didn't have a significant online profile. The sister of Thomas Crooks, who was Katie Crooks, had opened fire on former President Trump, is a hardworking woman with two jobs. A neighbor of Katie Crooks said she moved out of the family's home about 3 years ago into an apartment that Thomas Crooks helped her move. The neighbor said the father, Matthew, was physically incapable of assisting with the move, so he instead moved the truck. The neighbor said that Katie was a go-getter who worked at as a janitor at a local high school, as well as a waitress at a local eatery. She's a very friendly girl, just a very nice girl, the neighbor said. A woman presumed to be the shooter's sister has been photographed bringing luggage into the family's home. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that her family probably wants her to stay with them for a while. I mean, if her parents are getting up there in age, you have all this commotion outside your house now, all these TV cameras and onlookers and everything else. I'm sure that they don't want to be alone. So I'm sure she's there to keep them company and make sure that nothing happens. I wasn't sure if I wanted to add this part to the video or if I wanted to do it separate. It has to do with Corey Compartores. I'm not sure how to say his name. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. I kind of felt like he kind of earned his own video. But I don't have a whole lot on him, and it does have to do with what with what's been going on anyway. So I still want to honor him, and for now, I'm just going to add him into this video, and if at another time I decide that I think he should have his own video, then I will go ahead and do that. Let me know what you guys think about that as well. So, Corey's funeral was held on Friday, July 19th, 2024, that is today, at the church where he is a longtime member. One by one on Friday morning, people began to gather along the winding roads and cornfields to plant American flags, spread out their blankets, and wait for the fire trucks. They knew the nation would be watching them, but the day was about honoring a local man, Corey Comparator, the volunteer firefighter and father of two children killed in the gunfire at the Trump rally. You couldn't comprehend that's a neighbor stated you couldn't comprehend that even happened. He stood across the street from the service and watched. Give me a second, guys. I'm just picturing the whole thing in my head. I watched videos of the service earlier, watching all the fire trucks go by. It's when you see it in person, it hits you hard. You couldn't comprehend that happened, stated a neighbor who stood across the street from the funeral service to pay tribute to a man he had only known as a familiar face in the neighborhood. This support that is poured out from all over the world is unprecedented for those of us in the region, but it's fitting for Corey, stated the lead pastor. That was said at Wednesday's vigil, where the crowd lit prayer candles, turned on iPhone flashlights, and cracked glow stick necklaces. It's a shame that the rest of the world had to learn it in this way about his generosity and deep Christian faith. You've heard about who he is, you've heard about the man, his character, and you've heard about his compassion and love for his family. Makeshift tributes and memorials have popped up across the small communities here. A large electronic billboard above a road in nearby Freeport displayed a photo of Corey. Next to his photo was a phrase that has been uttered by the governor and residents across Pennsylvania. It stated, "A real hero." And he was. He protected his family. He did. He protected his family. Mr. Trump, during his speech on Thursday night at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, lauded Corey Comparator, saying he lost his life selflessly. His firefighter's uniform was displayed on stage near Mr. Trump as he spoke. And at one point, the former president kissed the helmet and asked the crowd to observe a moment of silence for our friend Corey. Corey, I'll say a silent prayer for you, as I'm sure the rest of the world has done. God bless.